morning, everyone. So nice to be here on this beautiful blue sky day. Welcome, everyone. My name is Belinda Coates. I'm a Central Ward councillor and I'm also the chair of the Intercultural Advisory Committee. I'll be your MC this morning on this beautiful sunny blue sky day, and the sun really does shine on everyone to kick off our Harmony Week and Harmony Fest activities with a flag raising activity. And I think it's actually the first time we've had a live streamed event. And before I begin, I'll acknowledge that we're gathering on Wadawurrung land and pay my respects to elders past and present, and acknowledge that the First Nations people have an ongoing connection to the land and the waterways, and also acknowledge that it is a significant time at the moment. A Truth and Justice Commission has just been announced as well, and it's an important reminder of how much more we have to learn about First Nations and the true history of Australia. So we're very privileged this morning to have Rachel Muir with us. Rachel Muir will kick us off with an acknowledgement of country, and Rachel Muir is a proud Yorta woman. She's also an intercultural ambassador. She's a passionate advocate. She's passionate about ending racism. She's also a mother. She has her 2 children here today, Samara, who's 9, and Samuel, who's 6. And we're in for a treat to have a terrific acknowledgement of country from Rachel. Please make her welcome.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Muir. I'm a proud Yorta woman of mixed heritage and a mother of 2 beautiful children created by an intercultural love. I am proud to stand here today on the lands of the Wadawurrung people. I pay my respects to the original custodians of these lands that we stand, live, work and play, the Wadawurrung people and their neighbouring Dja peoples. I pay my respects to their elders who fought through diversity, the hardships of murder and rape and attempted annihilation of their clans. I pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. For generations, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have overcome monstrosities to become more resilient, warriors, matriarchal leadership, awe-inspiring and proud. And these are just a few positive words that I have been fortunate enough to witness with the Aboriginal community that call Ballarat home. I personally am trying to be a strong, staunch warrior woman within my community, and not just the Aboriginal community, but the Ballarat community as a whole. I'm a true Ballaratarian, born and raised here. I have seen this little country town an hour away from the big smoke, and I have seen many changes within the Ballarat for the betterment of the community. From little thing, big things grow. That's a song. If you don't know it, check it out, read the lyrics, it'll be good. From middle-class white privileged community to this vibrant, colourful, multicultural, intercultural community we are today. I say welcome to all international students, migrants, children of adoption abroad, immigrants, refugees and asylum seekers. As I briefly spoke about the way Aboriginal people were mistreated, I believe many people from other countries have also faced their own dilemmas and had to leave their own home country for the land of the unknown. I say thank you for being brave and courageous to start your life here in Australia, and especially Ballarat. You bring so much to this town: your culture, your dress, your language, your cuisines, your beliefs, your social habits, your music and your art, and your community spirit. I would also like to say welcome to the people of all ages, abilities, gender identities and sexual orientations, and I say thank you for being courageous to be yourself. We are all free to be ourselves without fear of hurt, intimidation, sexism, ageism, discrimination and racism. So I would like, in the spirit of truth-telling, I would like to invite you to educate yourself about the true Australian history and get to know your community, get to know your neighbours. We, as a multicultural community, need to build a strong, inclusive foundation for our future generations. Ballarat has stepped up to show that they can be true leaders of change and inclusiveness. With listening to the voices of the local Aboriginal people around the date of Jan 26. Harmony Fest seems as good a day as any to change the date of Australia Day. Just a couple of words to leave you with. United we stand, and divided we fall. So I say, please, look after the lands, the waterways, and every living, breathing being. Respect each other. Be kind, Ballarat. May Bunjil protect you and guide you. Happy Harmony Fest.
Thanks so much, Rachel, and well done. And what an inspiring speech, and really shows Rachel walking the talk and stepping up with those messages of inclusion, truth-telling, and ending discrimination. So, as we know, this is actually the 10th year of Harmony Fest, and Ballarat is incredibly proud of our inclusive history. And as Rachel said, we're changing and really growing from year to year, and Harmony Fest is becoming bigger and better every year. Actually, this time last year we were just launching the beautiful Colours of the World exhibition at the Art Gallery of Ballarat that was only open for a couple of days before COVID-19. So we're very lucky this year to have Harmony Fest kicking off again, and really looking forward to the big range of events that have been organised in difficult times. And on that note, I would like to introduce the Mayor, Councillor Daniel Moloney, to give a speech about Harmony Fest. Please make him welcome.
Thanks very much, Belinda. Thanks, Councillor Coates. And Rachel, thank you so much for your speech. You are such an incredibly wise person with such beautiful words, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. It's as Belinda said, we're blessed to have such a wonderful day today to celebrate this wonderful Harmony Fest. This is, of course, like many things, it's been done a little bit differently this year with only a small group present. We're able to fortunately have a live stream as well today. So welcome to everyone joining us on our live stream this morning. And it's fantastic to be able to reach out to so many other parts of our community who aren't able to be here today. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we're gathered here today, the Wadawurrung people of Kulin Nation, and pay respects to elders past, present, emerging, pay respects to their most beautiful of cultures, their connections to the land and the waterways, and I extend that sincere gratitude and respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I'd like to also acknowledge quite a few special guests that we have with us today. So Dr. Michael Akindeju, President of the Ballarat African Association, Krushnadevsinh, Ravalji, apologies, sorry if I've said that wrong, Youth Advocate for Diversity and Multiculturalism. Looking forward to hearing from you shortly as well too. The Hands-On Drumming Troupe, looking forward to hearing a bit more from you guys as well. So it was a great little warm-up before we probably started the live feed. Since it was launched back in 2010, the Harmony Fest has been one of City of Ballarat's most vibrant celebrations of diversity. It is a fest that wraps around Harmony Day, the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which is celebrated and acknowledged on the 21st of March. The day encourages Australians to come together, to reflect, and to celebrate the many cultures that create our great city. With figures that show that Ballarat is home to migrants from 89 different countries, and almost 10% of Ballarat residents were born overseas, interculturalism is now a defining feature of our community. As Rachel pointed out, we've changed so much over the last couple of decades alone, and it is probably one of the coolest parts of living in Ballarat, really, is the fact that we've got so many wonderful cultures, languages, religions, plates to share. Nothing like food to bring great people together as well too. So I'm looking forward to some of those wonderful elements of Harmony Fest this week. City of Ballarat is genuinely committed to building a culturally aware and socially cohesive community through a range of initiatives such as this festival, but also the Intercultural Ambassador Program. So we have some ambassadors here, including Rachel, the development of the Intercultural City Strategic Plan, and by, most importantly in my view, by declaring Ballarat as a refugee welcome zone. Harmony Fest could not be possible without the valuable contributions of Ballarat's community groups and associations, as well as festival sponsors and supporting partners. This Festival of Harmony continues to grow in popularity every year, and this year there's some 30 events and activities that you can take part in, and I definitely encourage all of Ballarat to get out and go to at least one or two of those events. So get a hold of a program, check out the wonderful music and culture and foods to share. This is an incredible opportunity just to celebrate the multicultural vibrancy of our city in the coming weeks, and I encourage everyone to be part of it. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to hearing some of our guest speakers, and it's really important to be able to launch these annual calendar of events as part of Harmony Fest. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Well said. And next I would like to warmly introduce Dr. Michael Akindeju, who is the President of the Ballarat African Association. Michael is also a member of our Intercultural Advisory Committee. And I'll just tell you a little bit about his background. He migrated to Australia in 2006 after his initial training and education in Nigeria. Michael is a current member of Victoria's Multicultural Business Ministerial Council, a member of the Victorian African Australian Leadership Forum, a member of the Regional Advisory Council advising the government on issues relating to multiculturalism in Victoria, a member, as I mentioned, of our City of Ballarat Intercultural Advisory Committee, and President of Ballarat African Association. On top of that, he's an avid innovator, an apt multidisciplinary visionary, chartered and registered professional engineer, and a certified business architect with a background and cross-boundary experiences in chemical engineering. So what an exemplar list of credits to your name, Dr. Akindeju. So without further ado, please make him very warmly welcome.
I pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land on which we stand on, to their leaders and elders, past, present, and emerging. Amiable Lord Mayor of Ballarat, Councillor Daniel Moloney, the IAC Chair, Councillor Belinda Coates, other eminent councillors viewing today, ever-supporting members of Parliament, agency chieftains, dignified functionaries from grassroots associations, fellow Australians. I welcome you to this Harmony Fest flag raising ceremony. This is a symbolic day for our intercultural city as we launch the new flag and emblem for Harmony Fest. This celebrates the recognition of enhancing values that various cultures present in our city contribute, and more importantly, it signifies renewed acceptances of those values as we allow ourselves to interrogate other cultures with a noble purpose and intention of learning to self-improve. Hopefully, those learnings will continue to positively reinforce the aggregate and individual lived experiences in this great intercultural city of Ballarat. May I suggest that most people viewing and here today do desire that this great intercultural city of ours goes beyond tokenism of diversity to conscientious interwoven inclusion, where we engage the immense values and benefits that the various cultures bring and contribute. It is high time those became actively considered and reflected in our strategies, planning, implementations, street namings, and public space designations. There comes a time when every child must mature. There comes a time when every new arrival must become well-integrated citizens. Now is the time for Africans in this great intercultural city of Ballarat and everywhere in Australia to stand tall, be dignified, and be valued. We call on you, fellow Australians, to allow and accord us the decency of maturity, credible identity, and self-determination. Now is the time for service models to transition from hand-holding and spoon-feeding to facilitating and co-designing to ensure grassroots communities actualize well-deserved sustainable growth. Just like uncontrolled climate change, we could be destroying the future for our children if we do not actualize such transitions. Speaking from experience and leading by example, as the president of the Ballarat African Association, our ongoing Rebranding African Australian Identity project has seen us plant the seed and build strong foundations for African community in Ballarat to evolve from a place of self-pity, poor identity, and having no voice to a place where we are today ably and notably represented before you all. We cannot thank the community enough for allowing us the space to meaningfully argue our claims for equity and equality, and for allowing us to demonstrate that we are more than a circus. We have, through the rebranding project, seen the spectrum of well-meaning, hardworking, and adaptive people of our community showcase resilience. As a collective of people, ranging from humanitarian to highly skilled settlers, we have demonstrated strong desires to not be treated as weaklings, nor as second-rated citizens. As we continue to support and uplift Africans and African families in Ballarat and the region, let us put our brilliant minds together for the betterment of our grassroots communities, city, and country. As rightly put by Nelson Mandela when he said, the profound sense that we are human only comes through the humanity of others. If we had to accomplish anything in this world, it will be in equal measure due to the work and achievement of others. Just as the new flag reminds us that though we are many, we are one. The goals we each and all seek are bound in our collectiveness. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akindeju. So beautifully said, and some incredible messages in there about diversity and skills and the benefits that we have in Ballarat of having a diverse community. Next, it is my very great pleasure to welcome Kano Akindeju, who, Kano Ravalji, is that correct? Yep. Kano came to Australia, migrated to Australia when he was 7 from India. He's very passionate about a number of things, and I'll just share a little bit about his background. He is now an advocate of diversity and multiculturalism, and he's keen to inspire young people to become comfortable with themselves by sharing his journey and learnings from battling what he has felt like two different identities. Kano, aside from public speaking, Kano also mentors Year 12 VCE students in leadership roles. He's worked on multiple youth-led social media projects and hopes to use his energetic and humorous personality to deliver speeches, host events, conduct interviews, and promote peace and positivity wherever he goes. And what an incredible aspiration that is. Welcome, Kano.
Thank you for that. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respect to the Wadawurrung and Daja Wurrung people, and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and I'll also extend that to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. I also like to acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. My name is Krushnadevsinh Ravalji, otherwise known as Kano. My family and I moved to Australia, migrated to Australia back in 2007 when I was 7 years old. And when we first came here, before we first came here, it was a typical story of my parents not having enough money, not having the best quality of life in India. So somehow we worked up the money, either borrowing money, selling jewellery, selling land that we had, and getting the tickets, getting the visa approved, and then we came over here. And I'm sure a lot of the people watching online and here today can relate to this typical immigrant story of living in a 2-bedroom house with 13 people. As you can imagine, it's very tight, very, you don't get much room. And now that I'm a bit more older, I look back on those times and I remember seeing my dad struggle a lot. He didn't have work for about 4 months, and we came here with a couple $100, and I know that he was struggling a lot because he couldn't find work. And when he did have work, it was just cash in hand job, which doesn't really pay the bills, doesn't really put food on the table. But I think one of the biggest barriers was that we had no idea what we were doing. We couldn't speak English. My dad could speak a little bit. My sister, mum and I, we couldn't speak any English. So I learned English in a language center in Footscray. And then the other barriers were we didn't know the culture, we didn't know the Aussie culture, we didn't know the things that you do. You might be able to relate to these guys, but when I was in primary school, all the students were talking about Lion King, Finding Nemo, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is, so I was an outsider. And because we had no idea what was going on, now that I look back on those times, I realized that my family and we faced a lot of discrimination when we first came here. One of the instances that I remember in primary school was I wanted to play downball with, as you do as a young boy, and I know a lot of the students didn't want to play with me, or they didn't invite me out to things. And as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, I didn't know why that was. And I didn't speak the language. And then once I grew a bit more older, started to understand the world in high school, I started to realize it was because of who I am. I'm a bit different. I don't speak fluently. I don't look like your typical schoolboy. And moving on, I remember this one particular instance in Year 9 maths class. There was one student who'd been calling me nasty names. He was telling me I'm a curry muncher, or my parents work at Telstra. What happens if you press a red dot on your head, and all those things, which at the time as a year 9, I'm like, that's not very nice. I should not be, hearing those things in my day-to-day school life. So eventually I built up the courage to go up to my teacher, and I told him that there's this boy who's been calling me all these nasty names, he's calling me all these racist things, can you do something about it? And this still gets me to this day, that the teacher, instead of inviting the student over for a conversation, he told me that the things weren't racist, or that I should ignore them and not be offended by them. And that's what destroyed my hope in reaching out for help, trusting the school system. And I remember going home that day, I'm like, surely I'm not wrong. Surely these things are racist. These things I should not hear in my day-to-day life. And that's where I started going online, started learning more. And that's where my passion grew about fighting for racism, fighting equality, and giving multicultural young people a platform to embrace the culture, to share the culture. And now looking back on that, I have nothing against the teacher. I feel very empathetic that I grew up in a time where there's a lot of diversity in my community, and I know that growing up for the teacher, there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me in the community. So I have nothing against the teacher. But looking back, I feel like Australia now is one of the most diverse countries in the world. And I think unless you're a First Nations person, all of us have come here as migrants or refugees, and we've all brought along a culture, a music, all the things that make us us. And over time, that's all boiled up and made Australia, Melbourne and Ballarat one of the most livable cities, one of the most livable places on earth. Which is why I believe diversity, inclusion is one of our greatest strengths. Two things that stand out to me with diversity is, first of all, perspective, because I believe lived experience can never ever be taught. You can talk about it, you can learn about it, but unless you've been through it, you cannot learn about lived experience. And what I shared about my family in my story before, that's just my one story. These thousands of millions of multicultural young people here, all who have individual stories. Stories that need to be shared, stories that need to be heard, stories that need to be learned from. Second, I believe diversity brings about unique skills. I remember I was doing some work 2 weeks ago, and I was in a bit of a rush. I had to create an Arabic resource. And I created the resource, copy and pasted the translated text on, and I don't speak Arabic, but I was creating the resource. And I was very much, I passed it on to my workmate, and he said, Kano, this is wrong. Kano, this does not make sense. Because Arabic is read right to left instead of normal left to right. And because I was so busy, I didn't really look at it. But I'm so glad that I had a diverse team member who could look at that and like, this is wrong, before it could go out to the public. And that's a skill that I would never learn. And I think diversity brings about so many unique strengths that we don't normally think of. It doesn't have to be just cultural strengths. It could be gender, socioeconomic. There's so many different aspects to diversity. And I believe diversity brings about so many unique skills that need to be used, that need to be organizations, businesses, communities need to utilize to make the world a better place. And just pretty much to sum up, I think to really celebrate diversity, to really make cultural change, we need to celebrate what we are. And I love this initiative that Ballarat's been doing for the 10 years now, and that we're giving a platform to multicultural young people, not young people, not just young people, but all communities, a platform to share their culture, to invite others into their culture, to embrace the culture, and also tell them it's okay to be who you are. It's okay to wear your traditional clothing. It's okay to speak another language. You're not different. There's nothing wrong with that. Because I believe the more we understand each other, the more we understand each other's walks of life, the more we understand where we come from, the better we connect, the stronger we get, the diverse our minds get, the more diverse we get, the better the community gets. Because as together, we are stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Kano. Some really wonderful messages there. And I think you spelled it out so beautifully how when we share stories, when we listen to each other, when we open our hearts and minds, that really connects us. They're the things that connect us and help us grow as a people, a humanity and a city. Next, we're actually going to officially raise the flag, which is very exciting. So I'll call back Kano, the Mayor, and Dr. Michael to raise the flag, and then we'll hear from hands-on drumming after we do that. So we'll just pause for a moment while we officially raise the flag and take some photographs, importantly. Here we go. I did. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, I certainly will. Certainly will. And how's the flag going up there? Oh, we still need a bit of a gust of wind. Hopefully it'll come along for us. So, as I mentioned, we have hands-on drumming. They're from Grammar School, and they're going to perform a rendition of Bangers and Mash. They're led by Michael Evans-Barker, a versatile musician with 30 years experience playing percussion and drum kit. Yes, so without further ado, please make hands-on drumming from Grammar very welcome. Thank you. much. Great job. Beautifully done. And yeah, thank you to Hanz from Ballarat Grammar. Thanks to all of our speakers today. Thank you to everyone joining us online today for our first live streamed flag raising and launch of Harmony Fest. Hopefully you can get out to some of the incredible events that we have on over the next couple of weeks until the 28th of March. Over 40 events to choose from. So there really is something for everyone. There's a live music event with Mitch Tambo. There is food and culture. There is Tai Chi. There's an Indian film festival. There's much more. So please jump online and check out the program. And thank you once again, everyone, for joining us.